Thursday, January 5th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including child pornography charges against a man in Westport, a man attempting to steal a fire truck in West Haven, and much more. Later in the show, editorial director John Kovac joins me to preview the front pages of our HAN newspapers this week. And Frank Granito will let you know if we can expect any snow this weekend. And he'll also have your Nutmeg Sports update. And as always, we'll take a look back on this day in history with Donald Ang. But first, Darien police engaged a suspect in a 75-mile-per-hour pursuit to the Stamford border following a routine traffic stop on January 2nd. An officer stopped a vehicle with incorrect license plates on Hecker Avenue near Warner Drive at about 1:20 in the morning after observing it making an improper turn. The driver of the car was identified as Annie Nicole Plord, 37 years old, of Canton, and the vehicle's owner was riding in the passenger seat. The owner insisted that the plates on the vehicle were correct, and she said Plord was driving as she was tired from their shopping trip in New York City. However, as the officer attempted to call for help at the scene, Plord put the car in gear and drove away at a high speed. Officers pursued her several miles to the Stamford line, but pulled back at the request of a supervisor. According to police, there were no other cars on the road at the time, and Darien officers notified Stamford police and state troopers of the situation, and Plord was arrested later that night in connection with a burglary on Cove Road in Stamford. Plord had 3 active warrants for her arrest and was issued additional charges in Darien. And West Haven police arrested a man they say climbed into a fire truck Wednesday evening and attempted to drive off in it while firefighters were inside on a call. Firefighters explained to police that they were inside a home for a medical call when they heard the sirens activated on the parked fire truck. Firefighters looked and saw a male sitting inside the truck's cab. They came outside to find 63-year-old Wayne Gagney sitting inside the cab of the truck, attempting to put it in motion. Firefighters had to forcefully pull Gagney from the truck and held him as police arrived. Gagney of Savin Avenue had to be forcefully removed from the truck, and firefighters waited until police arrived to arrest him. A large hunting knife with an 8-inch blade was found in the suspect's possession. Gagney was charged with criminal attempt to commit larceny in the first degree and possession of a dangerous weapon. In other news, Westport police say a 47-year-old local man faces child pornography charges after his home was raided yesterday. Police say they were alerted that Paul Jude Latersky was carrying on an inappropriate sexting relationship with a juvenile in Colorado. At 5 a.m. yesterday morning, the Westport Police Detective Bureau executed a search warrant on Latersky's home at 175 Riverside Avenue. They say over 50 digital images of child pornography were discovered, and based on that evidence, Latersky was arrested on scene for possession of child pornography. An arrest warrant was also served on Latersky, charging him with enticing a minor and risk of injury stemming from that original complaint. Westport police say the incident is still under investigation. And Fairfield police are looking for a man all dressed in black who robbed a U-Haul employee at gunpoint and attempted to pistol whip him Saturday night. The Fairfield Citizen reports that the robbery happened just before 8 at night outside the Bank of America branch on Kings Highway while the victim was making a night deposit. The victim said he was near the ATM when the suspect approached him from behind and tried to hit him in the face with a pistol. During the struggle, the victim lost his grip on the deposit bag and the suspect ran off with it, climbing over a fence to get away. The victim was not injured and called 911. A Fairfield police canine track was unsuccessful. That suspect was described as a tall man wearing all black and a ski mask. Anyone with information can contact Fairfield detectives at 203-254-4840. And the Ridgefield Board of Selectmen has accepted the retirement of Ridgefield Fire Chief Kevin Tappy following a period where he was on paid administrative leave as the town investigated a possible violation of town policy. First Selectman Rudy Marconi said that Chief Tappy has decided to retire from the department after a lengthy career of public service, and we thank him for that service. The Selectmen met in an executive session to discuss that personnel matter. Chief Tappy did not attend the meeting. The department is being led now by Acting Chief Jerry Myers. No specifics on the situation or the policy that may have been violated have been provided by Ridgefield officials. And in other Ridgefield news, residents made it clear this week they did not support a proposed rehab facility moving in. Property values, children's safety, tax assessment, water and septic, traffic, and lack of community support. Those were some of the reasons residents gave at Tuesday night's Ridgefield Planning and Zoning public hearing as they spoke in opposition to a proposed drug rehabilitation facility at 162 Old West Mountain Road. The commission heard from 11 speakers during the public comment period that followed a presentation from the applicant Mountainside, which has submitted a two-part application to amend the town's planning regulations to add a special permit in a residential zone. 24 additional speakers who had signed up to give public comment went unheard during that hearing, which has now been continued to Tuesday, February 7th at 7 o'clock at night at East Ridge Middle School. More on that story on the ridgefieldpress.com. Let's throw it over now to Frank Granito for a look at the forecast. Frank.
Thank you, Kate. Cold out there this morning with temperatures in the low 20s, partly sunny for most of the day, but we can expect heavy cloud cover to move in later on this afternoon as we get set for some snow on Thursday night. Temperatures may reach into the mid-30s, but that number is going to feel much closer to 20 throughout the day, with heavy winds expected through this evening. Overnight snow will continue on into tomorrow morning, leaving us with about an inch or two before tomorrow afternoon. Cloudy and cold again tomorrow for most of the day. There is a chance that we could see some afternoon sunshine before mostly clear skies Friday night heading into this weekend. Mostly cloudy though on Saturday and Sunday, an expected high of only 29 degrees Saturday, a light breeze between 8 to 10 miles per hour, overcast on Saturday night, and we can expect much of the same again on Sunday as it will be chilly and gloomy for the most of the weekend. That's going to do it for this weather update. Let's send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. Well, we're going to step out for a break. When we come back, Donald Dang takes a look back on this day in history. Frank will have your Nutmeg Sports update, and we have more local news, including a drunk driver allegedly mistaking a cop for his Uber driver. That and a lot more coming up after this.
At Hoyt Livery, our goal is to always... Sam, what are you doing? We're filming a commercial.
I'm checking out the new Hoyt on the Go app. Hoyt's here!
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan. And you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
Why cook it all this holiday? Avoid the stress of holiday planning and let your friends at Walter Stewart's in New Canaan do the heavy lifting. Whether you're looking to fill in with a few crowd-pleasing sides or you want us to prepare your whole feast, from cranberry sauce to pumpkin pie, we're ready to simplify your holiday. Place your order from our holiday menu and spend your holiday the right way, relaxing. Our fresh prepared holiday meals to go are designed with your busy schedule in mind. Visit us at stewartsmarket.com or at 229 Elm Street, New Canaan.
Have a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Basketball, hockey, skiing, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
On time, done right, safe and reliable. MrHandymanCT.com.
Let our satisfied customers tell it.
I have called Mr. Handyman for every reason, every occasion, every broken item, every leak. They have bailed me out on many occasions, and I would recommend them to anyone.
For any project, large or small.
MrHandymanCT.com.
When it comes to local entertainment, we've got it all.
From movies, local artists, etiquette, and more.
Watch HAN Arts and Leisure with me, Steve Coulter, and our Arts and Leisure editor, Sally Sanders, Mondays at 12:30, right here on the HAN Network.
We're back on this January 5th edition of Your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and it's time to throw it over to Donald Dang to take a look back on this day in history. Don.
Well, Kate, a colorful beginning today, but we're going to start in 81. Richmond, Virginia, burned to the ground by British forces under General Benedict Arnold. Now, the British couldn't help but notice that Virginia had left its capital city completely undefended. Arnold, leading about 1,600 redcoats, sent a letter to Governor Thomas Jefferson offering to leave the city undamaged if the Americans would turn over the tobacco and guns stored there. In reply, Jefferson angrily told Arnold exactly what he could do with the tobacco and guns, and Arnold replied by burning the city to the ground. To 1914, Ford announces an 8-hour workday and that it would pay a living wage of $5 a day for a day's labor. At the time, child labor and 16-hour workdays were common, and the idea of a 40-hour week revolutionary. Now, $5 a day might not sound like very much, but corrected for inflation, it's about 30% more than the average factory worker earns today. To 1972, President Richard Nixon orders development of the space shuttle. Want to know why we don't have a Mars base? Blame Nixon. As the commander-in-chief, it was his decision to make, and NASA wanted to go to Mars. Nixon was persuaded by the military possibilities of a reusable space plane. Finally, now we go to 1948, California, for this.
The Pasadena Tournament of Roses and Warner Pathé News presents the first color newsreel pictures of this event in Cinecolor. Led by the Grand Marshal, General Omar Bradley, and Mrs. Bradley, the parade gets underway. Almost 2 million people pack the 5-mile route of the procession. All hail the queen of the Tournament of Roses, 18-year-old Virginia Goodhue, who extends royal greetings to all. Clear the track for the Playland Unlimited. Mickey Mouse drives as his passenger quacks hello. The perennial parade favorite, Leo Carrillo. Each float is decorated entirely with live flowers.
That was the Tournament of Roses parade in a color newsreel, the first actual broadcast in color, the Tournament of Roses parade and the Rose Bowl football game. Michigan defeated USC 49-0 in the Rose Bowl game that year, only the second year of the annual meeting between the champions of the Pacific Coast Conference and then called the Big Nine. Michigan State would not join the conference until 2 years later, making it the Big Ten. Since then, Penn State, Nebraska, Rutgers, and Maryland have joined the increasingly inaccurately named Big Ten Conference. That's a look back in history for today, January 5th, and I'm Don Ling.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, in other local news, a Trumbull man allegedly mistook a police officer for an Uber driver immediately prior to getting arrested on DUI charges early on New Year's Day. According to reports, an October Lane homeowner called police shortly after 1 in the morning to report that an intoxicated man was trying to enter his home. While police were en route, a second caller reported that a pickup truck had crashed into a tree at the end of the driveway on the same street. Upon arriving at the scene, police saw a man later identified as 18-year-old Aaron Lara standing near the road. When an officer approached, Lara allegedly asked if he was his Uber driver. Police noted Lara's slurred speech and asked how much alcohol he had consumed that night, to which he just replied, New Year's Eve. Nearby, police saw a Dodge pickup truck crashed into a tree, which Lara initially denied but then admitted having been driving. Lara failed field sobriety tests and later registered a .19 on a breath test. Let's throw it back over to Frank Granito for a Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank, you had an exciting game last night.
It was a lot of fun last night. We were live in Stamford for our Girls Game of the Week, featuring the Richfield Tigers and the defending FCIAC and state champion Stamford Lady Knights. For the second season in a row, the Tigers handed the Lady Knights their first loss, as Ridgefield spoiled Stamford's ring ceremony by coming away with the 43-39 victory. Despite poor free throw shooting by Ridgefield, Stamford was never able to get their offense in sync, as each of their 5 starters picked up at least 3 fouls, most of those coming in the first half. Alexis Kellner led all scorers in the game with 14 points, followed by Martha Gierand with 13. Caroline Colonel and Megan O'Hara paced the Tigers. They had 11 points. Elizabeth Middlebrook picked up 7 points and 8 rebounds as she was dominant down low for Ridgefield. Let's take a look at the highlights from last night's Tigers win. Good evening and welcome to Cutco Gym here in Stamford, Connecticut, as we get set for our Girls Game of the Week conference.
And for Stamford High, they're ranked 3rd in the Game Time CT state rankings. For Ridgefield, they're trying to break in. They're trying to break through it.
You've got Middlebrook, O'Hara, Goodwin, and Colonel on the floor right now. That's another turnover as Colonel going to go up to the rack and able to finish. I might have spoken a second too soon as Stamford looks to break this a one-possession game. Nice outlet. Elizabeth goes up to Julia, and she converts from the left side. Her first points of the second half. It's a 12-point lead.
There it is. Caroline Curran, the big rebound, but bad turnover for the Tigers, Frank.
Threw it right away to Brooke Kelly, who goes up, and the foul! Made her last 2 free throws. Make it 3. It is a 4-point gain. O'Hara misses. Duran comes up with it. They've got to get this off quickly as Martinez fires from range. No good off the rim. The Tigers hold on despite making this one as interesting as possible. Both teams are now 5-1 overall in the regular season. They are 3-1 in FCIAC play. Stanford goes on the road to undefeated Trumbull for their next game on Friday afternoon. Ridgefield will play at 1-7 Trinity Catholic. That game is on Friday as well. For a full breakdown of this game from last night, make sure you tune into Nutmeg Sports. We've got a feature piece with our own Tim Murphy of the Ridgefield Press, and of course a look around the rest of the scores from last night's FCIAC play. That's going to do it for this Nutmeg Sports update, though. Let's send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. Well, in other local news today, while few of us applaud forecasts filled with rain or snow in our daily routines, it may be time for new thinking by Fairfield County residents. The county's reservoirs are going dry, with those serving the far southwestern part of the state, Greenwich, Stamford, New Canaan, and Darien, in the worst shape. The Greater Bridgeport Public Water System is in better condition, but also well below average levels for this time of year. All of western Connecticut is under a state-declared drought watch, and most of the state has been classified by the U.S. Drought Monitor Office as being in severe drought or extreme drought. Some towns have enacted outdoor watering bans, as we've discussed in the past. Aquarian Water Company, the privately owned state-regulated entity that provides public water to this region, has asked residents to cut their water use by 20%. According to Charles Ferlot, Aquarian president and CEO, he says it may take months of rainfall before reservoirs and wells return to normal capacity, which is why he says it's so important for everyone to find new ways to save water. And as the temperatures plummet and the cold winds blow, everyone needs to take care to protect their pets from the winter elements, just as they protect themselves. People put on warm winter gear and come inside when they get cold, but they don't always consider that their pets get cold too and also need to come inside. Dogs and cats get frostbite on their noses and foot pads and need to be protected. That, according to Kelly Fitch, the Easton Animal Control Officer. Not only is it the right thing to do to shelter pets from frigid weather, it's also the law. Scufflaws can get hit with a cruelty charge, according to Fitch. Fitch also said they've had complaints of people leaving their dogs out in 17-degree weather, which can drop down to 10. He said it's a good rule that if you wouldn't let your kids out, you shouldn't let your dog out. There's a lot more on that story at eastoncourier.com, and just a shout out to Ruby, who's our HAN mascot. She was in that photo. We're going to step out for a break, and when we come back, John Kovac joins me, and we're going to preview our front pages this week after this.
Connecticut is coming back to hometown banking, to a partner that makes small businesses feel big, where community comes first, where high-tech tools go hand in hand with a human touch, where you get the know-how only neighbors can deliver, where saving time is important too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well, bank smart, bank local, bank well.
1, 2, 3, F-E, you know!
I want to find out how good I am.
Yes, sir! If you relax, you get blown out. Let's get it done! Let's get it done!
What can you take advantage of right now?
Again, come on!
I can push myself way beyond what you think.
Pressure technique. Bring it back.
Manfredi New Canaan is a dream come true for locals Kim and Roberto. Their Elm Street store features Rolex, Hermes, and design jewelry collections from everyday classic gold to diamond jewelry. Manfredi offers a range of services from simple jewelry and watch repair to elegant jewelry design. Let Manfredi New Canaan help you find the perfect gift to celebrate important life moments. Visit us at 72 Elm Street, New Canaan, or online at manfredijewels.com.
At In Sports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Recently renovated and home to one of Connecticut's largest indoor turf fields, In Sports is a multi-sport recreation center providing state-of-the-art facilities for league play, camps, and youth programs. Sign up now for In Sports fall and winter lacrosse clinics and leagues. With programs ranging from first grade all the way through high school, there's something for every lacrosse player at all levels. Programs include college coaches clinics, youth box winter leagues, high school winter leagues, and 7-on-7 tournaments. For more information and pricing, visit us at insportscenters.com. Like us on Facebook.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune into Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN network. It's like going to the tap.
We take a humorous look at the news of the week. We talk about everything you were told you should avoid bringing up in polite company.
CT Pulse, Wednesdays at 12:30 on the HAN network. We're back on this Thursday edition of Your Coffee Break on the HAN network. I'm Kate Czaplinski and happy to have editorial director John Kovach back in studio with me to preview our front pages this week, John.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy to have you. So what are you checking out first, John?
Well, it's old news that's more timely than ever because it doesn't get any better, and that is the lead in the Stratford Star. Dry times, this drought that continues. Now, it probably sounds odd saying it when we're supposed to get an inch or so of snow. But we really do need rain, and I'm as aware of that as anybody. And then big changes in Stratford in terms of the business community, where Mary Dean, who was head of the Stratford Chamber of Commerce, is joining the Harkins administration as the head of economic development, and State Representative Laura Hoydick, who preceded Dean as director of the Stratford Chamber, is reassuming her old role with the Chamber of Commerce. So interesting times in Stratford.
All right, well, taking a look at the Ridgefield Press, this headline makes it very clear, this lead headline, how people feel about the Mountainside Rehabilitation Facility proposal. We don't want you here. As you can see, that was a packed public hearing. Mountainside made a presentation. Now, this would be a very small facility, they say, for elite patients, but interesting story ongoing there. That public hearing now open until February. Open again in February. Town also has plans and a spending cap. Police investigating a lot of burglary attempts in Ridgefield. Really seen an uptick in that over the holiday week and since then. And Housing Authority Chairman Bob Hebert, a story on what's happening at the Ridgefield Housing Authority.
Easton also going with the drought on its front page, as well as a look at the completion of revaluation there, mandated every 10 years by the state of Connecticut. And housing values declined there but stabilized, and a discussion of clean air and water and their role in solving other problems, and that included State Senator Tony Wong. Interesting story there. I'm looking forward to having a chance to read. Also, for those of you with pets, Kate, pets are susceptible to cold and frostbite, and we have that's
Josh Fisher's dog, Ruby. They needed a photo of a corgi in the snow. Well, not a corgi. I don't think that was a requirement, but it just so happened that he had several because corgis love the snow.
No way.
It's a
Josh
fact.
had photos of Josh had photos of Ruby in the snow. Wow,
all right, well, taking a look at the front page of the Milford Mirror, a story similar that we're going to see in a lot of our papers. Milford losing $382,000 in state education funds. They found that out just last week. More cuts coming in April. A great lead photo, though. 2017, a new year. Mild temperatures on January 1st brought a lot of people to the beaches in Milford. And law principal will go bald after they met a goal of raising $3,000 for the United Way. Students chipped in, and now he will shave his head. We also have more stories. Retaining wall paves the way for a founder's walk in downtown Milford, and a hearing slated on Meadowside development changes.
Darien is another of those towns that will see a loss in funding. Their education cost-sharing grant from the state being cleaved nearly in half. There's discussion of a new place for senior living. A look back at 2016, and Laureen Valenti was on hand as they lowered the ball in Rowayton to welcome 2017.
All right, taking a look at the Monroe Courier. Obviously, as many of our papers have put more on the drought and also the state slashing school funding in Monroe. And interesting, but the first flu case reported in Monroe. flu season. And a resident named Assistant Principal of the Year. So congratulations to him.
This is a story we unfortunately have to report so often, and it's preventable. In New Canaan, word that it was improperly disposed of fireplace ashes that caused a fire on December 30th there. Also a look back at 2016 and a number of construction and real estate stories there. The new post office about to open in New Canaan, and related to the drought, Aquarian asking customers to cut their water usage by 20%.
All right, well, taking a look at the Shelton Herald, I like that the Huntington Branch Library did a Happy Noon Year for some of its young visitors, as opposed to trying to stay up till midnight. You could drop some moons at noon. I like it. And a story we talked about on Coffee Break, but a former Shelton High student hacked the school's computer system several times, has been charged in that, a juvenile. State police making a stop on Route 8 and finding 108 bags of heroin in the possession of Joshua Smith. And a Shelton family grateful for progress made on a home damaged in a fire. And Shelton EMS discussing possible effects of more development on Bridgeport Ave, where we are right now.
In Weston, school officials have begun planning for the 2017-18 school budget while facing the loss of $118,000 from their state education cost sharing grant. A new school resource officer, a conversation with him, and more on the drought.
All right, well, taking a look at the front page of the Wilton Bulletin, a very colorful lead photo, and that's because the Wilton Library will be focusing on local Wilton artists, and their work will be hanging up in the library, and that opening is on January 6th. A Better Chance celebrating 20 years in Wilton, and of course, as we've been talking about in other papers, Wilton's state education aid taking a hit, and of course, more on the drought.
Yeah, Reading also losing state aid, and that'll certainly be among the top stories next year as the pilot looks back at 2016. A motorist in a crash that sent a vehicle 100 feet into the woods, and a look at a chef opening a new restaurant in Connecticut.
All right, well, I'm taking a quick look at our arts and leisure section. Really interesting story that I'm just starting to read right now. Can't wait to read more. But death cafes, the movement is growing in Connecticut. Very cool there. Have to get more information on that. And at least in memoriam, Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, written by Jonathan Schumann, who I believe is the son of our real dad, Mark Schumann. And a lot more great stuff, events and movie reviews in this week's section. John, 1 o'clock, we have Yankee Fisherman coming up.
We're going to ring in the new year on the water in Wilton. We are going to look at a way that you can use your old Christmas tree to help with the conservation project.
I like that.
We'll look back at the year with New England Bassin, and we've got just a lot of big shows coming up on Yankee Fisherman.
All right, that's great. 1 o'clock, Yankee Fisherman, 2 o'clock, Nutmeg Sports. We're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break, but we'll be back tomorrow at 11. See you then.